So here's my palette, and it's basically what I was using the previous session. I'm using mostly ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. So you can see I'm using a lot of burnt sienna there. In fact, I'm probably using a little bit too much burnt sienna. I'm going to add some ultramarine blue. And I'm using some paints that really blend nicely together. I'm using RGH paints, and I really like their burnt sienna. A lot of other brands, I really don't like the burnt sienna all that much, but the burnt sienna with RGH paints mixes really nice with their ultramarine blue. So I'm kind of just scrubbing it on here. I'm using a little bit thicker paint to, suggest some cracks and things. So Leonardo da Vinci called this using the spirit of invention, where you look at shapes and you try to imagine, where the cracks are and where they turn and where the dips and bumps are. And so you just try to emphasize those perceived shapes. Sometimes I have to stand back and stare at it for quite a while to kind of get these. But, usually it'll become obvious where a crack should be. So it's getting a little bit dark, but I'm going to come in and rub this out pretty quick. So right now there's quite a bit of impasto here on the surface of these rocks, and right now that's being helpful because the paint kind of settles into the low points of the impasto and makes a really nice texture. Rembrandt used this technique a lot. Whenever you look at an original Rembrandt, you'll see a lot of this effect where he's building up a lot of really rough paint and then just, smearing a thin layer back into it. So, I'm using warm paint here just to try to warm up the tops of the rocks just a little bit. You want a nice interplay of warm and cool colors there. I'm warming up that area a little bit more. So an area between rocks will be a little bit warmer because the light is reflecting between those. Now I picked up a little bit of sap green, which is a new color I'm kind of playing around with. But on these rocks, I think it works pretty nicely. So I'm just smearing it in. Now I don't really have to worry about losing my lights too much because I can always come back in and rub those out with a rag. And now at this point, I'm basically just kind of softening the edges, the linear quality of the lines. So, when you do use the rag, you pull out some lights. Just there, I'm pulling out a really nice light there on the rock. And it can give just a really, really nice three-dimensional quality. Now, in some ways, these rocks are getting a little bit too, they have kind of a mannered quality to them. The impasto is so thick. So I may go back in and actually use my hand sander, electric hand sander, and take the tops off of all these big lumps of impasto. Or I might just come in with some scumbles, some really grayish, whitish scumbles, and kind of push some of the darks back into the flat layer. I'll just have to see how it goes. I might do a little bit of both. Sometimes that's the best solution. But right now I'm kind of pulling out some more of the lights. I went a little bit too dark, and so I'm kind of, it's always better to do a little bit lighter. You can always come back in and glaze again. So I'm kind of pulling out some of those highlights, just basically taking off all of the paint in some areas. So you can really have a lot of fun with this technique, and it gives you a lot of flexibility. So I hope you give it a try and let me know how it goes.